genre.
Welcome back to Rocky Minute, the daily podcast where we cover the movie Rocky 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Doug Greenberg.
And I'm Jason Haynes.
And it's just us this week, no guests, so... Today we're knocking out minute 16, which starts out with Gazzo getting all up in Rocky's ass for not breaking Bob's thumbs, and it ends with Rocky's remorse that he didn't break Gazzo's driver's thumbs. So Gazzo finishes up from last week. How do you think Gazzo found out? Who's the blabber now?
I don't know, but the funny thing is this just happened a few minutes ago. So how did he find out? Not only how did he find out, but how did he find out so fast?
In a world where there is no cell phones.
There's no cell phones. He had to probably go to a payphone. There wasn't no beepers.
No.
There was no...
He found out immediately.
Yeah. I mean, but Rocky went to the docks. Then he got picked up in the Cadillac, and then he drove with him, and then they got and not only did it just happen, but Rocky was with Gazzo for most of the time since he was with Bob. Was the guy's name?
Bob, yeah.
So not only does he find out, he finds out so quickly. How and from whom?
I don't know, but when Rocky asks how he knows, Gazzo says, "You don't think I hear things? You hear things pretty quickly, immediately."
I mean, I understand it's a movie and it's not in real time. But even in movie time, he found out awfully fast for an era when there are no cell phones.
Well, he heard. And
somebody had to go to a payphone at the dock and call Gazzo either at home or on a phone of some sort.
Maybe the guys next to the Cadillac that were standing by the boat, maybe they have a connection to Gazzo.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe they're the tattletales.
He tells Rocky, when you don't do what I tell you, you make me look bad. He goes, he's big on his reputation.
Well, he's a loan shark. You have to be. Gazzo has a very valid point here. You're Rocky. First of all, your boss tells you to do something, you do it. He's paying you to do it. But secondly, now Gazzo has a problem now because if people are going to borrow money and they're not going to pay it back because they're going to be like, oh, what's he going to do? Get Rocky to come after me? The guy, he's not even going to do anything. He doesn't hit me. He doesn't break my thumb. He doesn't do anything to me. So why would they be afraid? Gazzo's whole livelihood depends on people being afraid of him. And if Rocky's your guy and nobody's afraid of him, then what good is he? Rocky
does some deductive reasoning here because he says he figures that if he breaks Bob's thumbs, he'll get laid off and he can't make any more money. And Gazzo isn't having that. He says, these guys think we're running a charity. They're getting off light.
Let me do the figuring.
Yeah.
In the script that I read, it was actually Bob. The original script, Bob says to Rocky when he's threatening him, he was going to break his thumb, and he goes, don't break my thumb, I won't be able to work. So it was actually Bob who put the idea in Rocky's head originally. But when they made the movie, I guess they thought it would be better if Rocky thought of this by himself, make him look a little smarter. It's a valid point. I don't know what Bob does. The only thing we saw him driving was that little cart around. I think you could probably do that with a broken thumb.
Right. I don't know if he's doing any heavy lifting.
Right, I'm sure his career would continue.
Well, there's a real-world thing that happens in this minute. Joe Spinell, who plays Gazzo, actually has an asthma attack on screen, but it's so quick that you might think it's written into the script because, he pulls out his inhaler and takes a puff in the middle of dressing down Rocky. He does it was after he says, when you don't do what I tell you, you make me look bad. And Rocky starts going into his figuring about Bob not being able to make money. He does Gazzo or Joe Spinell does a quick, a sniff, and then it looks like a laborious exhale. If you're not looking for it, if you're not studying this movie minute by minute, you might, you're not going to see it. I don't know if that's, I don't have asthma. I don't know if that's
nor do I.
If that's a telltale sign, but takes out his inhaler, takes a puff, and Rocky Stallone never breaks. He continues on with his line. Like I said, you might think it's written into the script.
And you read that the director he didn't take it out because he liked the authenticity of it. But if you didn't know that and you were just watching the movie, you might, if we didn't have this knowledge, we might be analyzing the asthma inhaler and be something were they trying to show Gazzo has a vulnerability or a weakness of some sort, and probably overanalyze. We could probably spend a good 15 minutes talking about this asthma attack, and it turns out it was just an actual asthma attack. But it did bring some authenticity to the scene. It's whatever.
I like it.
Do you? The guy has an asthma attack, and enjoying it?
You know, there's
entertainment value.
There was a rumor that I read that Joe Spinell actually died of an asthma attack, but I don't know if that's.
No, I've discussed this before, where I read that he
fell in the shower.
He fell in the shower, cut his head open, and bled to death on his couch.
Either way, that's awful.
Both of them are awful ways to go.
Terrible ways to die.
I wonder if he had a full-on asthma attack and didn't have his inhaler and died during the filming, if they would have just left that in the movie as well.
I wonder if Stallone would have broke character then.
And Avildsen will be like, I like the authenticity of Gazzo dying in the. Also though, the other little tidbit I read was that Gazzo was actually named after Spinelli's uncle. His uncle named Tony Gazzo, and that's where they got the name Gazzo from.
Oh, look at that.
But yeah, so then the little tidbits about Spinelli. I think we talked a lot about him though in the character credits.
Yeah.
But this. The thing about this scene was that you could really tell that Gazzo actually likes Rocky. He's not just an employee. Like, he has some kind of fondness for him, because although he's like chewing him out and he's basically yelling at him, you would think if this was anybody else, it would be a lot worse. He's just kind of talking to him. He's not yelling at him. He's just, and he's kind of pleading with him. He's not just saying, like, I would think a loan shark would be like, listen, you do what I tell you to do next time. You don't when I tell you to do something, do it. You understand? He's kind of explaining it to him. Like, hey, listen, Rock, if you don't do what I tell you to do, it makes me look bad, and our whole business can go down. And it shows that he likes him. He has a fondness for him. And actually, in the script, I read that Gazzo originally, in the script, when he goes back to the car and he gets in the car, it's him and the bodyguard in the car, and he says to the bodyguard something like, He's a good kid.
Yeah, I read that.
So you can tell that he likes him. He's taking care of him. He pays him. He gives him, in the future, he gives him a little extra money. We'll get to that in a minute when we get there. But so you can tell he likes him. Rocky's not just his leg breaker. He actually has, he likes the guy.
Much like Rocky's relationship with Mickey, that's kind of like what we'll cover when we get there. But it's like a father-son kind of back and forth that we get here. Gazzo is trying to explain it, trying to make Rocky understand, like a father would to a child.
And actually, it looks like a father talking to his child. Like, Rocky keeps looking away, like he's not paying attention. Yep. And Gazzo keeps like he hits him a couple times, like, Rocky, like, you listen to me. Are you paying attention? And it's exactly like a father talking to their child. Yeah, Rocky does look like a kid getting yelled at. He's fidgety. He's like pouting. He's like sulking.
Right. Not making eye contact. He's playing with the pencil he has in his hand. Yeah, and Gazzo has to bring him back because
a couple times
because he's not paying attention. So he asks him, like, you understand what I'm saying? Kind of slaps him on the chest.
But it
to get his attention.
I did read that originally Gazzo was supposed to be Rocky's older brother. When Rocky was writing the movie, Gazzo was supposed to be his older brother. So he kind of plays that role, like an older brother role. Yeah, he's definitely kind of scolding Rocky like I do to my kids. Not quite. I've seen you scold your kids. It's a little bit different. There's a lot more anger and cussing, and it's a little bit different.
Oh man.
But it's it definitely has that big brother father type of a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rocky finally conveys that he understands what Gazzo's saying, and he walks away. Gazzo walks away, and Rocky, just like a feather in the cap, like shows where his concentration is. He yells to Gazzo, "How do you spell Del Rio?" He's still on this Del Rio thing, and Gazzo tells him to look it up in the dictionary.
I was watching something. We keep alluding to this, but later on, there's the hat scene with Adrian in the end after the big fight where she comes in the ring and Rocky asks her where's her hat, and Sylvester Stallone said that brought out like the word I'm looking for, like an innocence in Rocky, like with all the that he's kind of oblivious to what's going on around him, like all the activity, all the people, the crowds, everybody's going nuts, and Adrian gets in the ring and his only concern, like, he notices right away, like, oh, where's your hat, like a simple kind of guy. And this plays into that also, like, you're getting yelled at by your boss, he's right, he's talking to you, and then he's done, and he's kind of almost like moved on already, oblivious to what just happened, and he's kind of like, oh, asking again, like he's still stuck on the how do you spell Del Rio thing. So, yeah, I wonder if that's what he was thinking about when Gaz was yelling at him. Like, he's like, I wish this guy would stop yelling at me so I could find out how to spell Del Rio. Do you think Rocky has a dictionary at home? or a library card of any sort where he can get one? No, I don't. Well, I looked up Del Rio in the dictionary. Did you? Or dictionary.com. Who has a dictionary anymore? This isn't Rocky for one. I don't have one either. Del Rio on dictionary.com is a city in South Texas on the Rio Grande. Isn't there a population in there? 35,000 or something? That's all it said. Well, it would help you spell it. So maybe Gaz was right.
So after Gazzo walks away, Rocky, he kind of gets a little remorseful, I guess.
Well, he knows he's wrong. I
think. Yeah. So he shouts, or not shouts, but he says, "I won't let that happen no more about the thumb." Like he again, like a child in trouble. Trying to make amends. Mm-hmm. I think it's like a sweet moment, sweet Rocky moment. Like, I felt bad for him.
Because I see what you're saying. He doesn't want his boss to meet, or boss, Gazzo's obviously takes care of him, and he doesn't want him to be mad at him. Just like, I could see, the child doing that after you yell at them. Mm-hmm. You've scolded them on something, and then it's over, and they're walking away, and they're like, "Sorry about that, Dad." When you've kind of like, you as a parent, or loan shark boss, you've said what you had to say, you got your point across, you've moved on. How do you spell Del Rio? And then he's getting in the car, and he's like, I feel bad about it. And you throw in I'm sorry, I didn't clean up the living room, Dad. I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, I could see that. Rocky felt bad. He should have broken the thumb. I think we'll all agree. He should have broken the thumb. He should have done what he was told to do.
You think that would have changed the audience's view on Rocky?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think we discussed that last time, right? This is a guy, I just read something the other day that Rocky was on some list of famous movie heroes. Rocky was number 8 of famous heroes. So this is a guy, obviously the underdog. You want to root for him, you want to cheer for him. He becomes a heroic figure in the world. And I think if he was out working for the loan shark without any compassion and breaking legs, breaking thumbs, punching people in the face, that it would take away from that a little bit. But it also it shows the character. Rocky, we discussed this last time, has some compassion. He's supposed to be a tough guy. He's a fighter. He's a boxer. He's a whatever, but he still has some compassion. He didn't want to break the guy's thumbs.
I think the Gazzo's bodyguard would have broke Bob's thumbs.
But wait, I have one more thing. When Rocky's walking away from Bob and Bob yells out, "I'll wrap it up," and pretend we'll tell Gazzo you broke it or whatever. You think if they did that and Gazzo found out that would have made it worse? This one's bad enough, hey, you didn't do what I told you to, don't break your thumbs. But if he did that, wouldn't it be hey, you lied to me? You tried to... Cover it up. They always say the cover up is worse than the crime.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about if Evan, my son, who's 7 years old, were to do something wrong, that would make me mad. He would get yelled at, get punished or whatever. But if he did something wrong and then tried to cover it up, that would up the stakes a little bit.
So if he didn't clean up his toys in his room, you said clean up your toys. You told him, Evan, go clean up your toys, and you go upstairs and the toys aren't cleaned up, and you're like, Evan, I told you to clean up the toys, and you talked to him and you said, listen, you got to do it. We don't run a soup kitchen. We don't run a charity here. This is a house. You have to clean up and do what I say, and let me do the figuring and clean up your toys. And Evan's like, all right. And then you walk away and he's like, about the toys, I should have cleaned up the toys. You'd be like, all right, no problem, buddy.
You got through to him
next time.
Yeah.
But let's say he doesn't clean up the toys, and as you're going upstairs to check, he sets his room on fire and burns the house down. Which, for those of you that don't know Evan, it wouldn't blow me away. I would be completely shocked.
The realm of possibility.
So you would be more angry with him for trying to cover up the fact that he didn't clean up the toys by burning the house down, right?
Yes, the cover up would anger me more.
All right, so I agree. All right, so
Gazzo's bodyguard, just to get another little dig at Rocky, he says, "So long, meat bag." Mm-hmm. Which you said in the script, this conversation doesn't happen between the bodyguard and Rocky. It happens between Gazzo and the bodyguard in the car when they're driving away, mm-hmm. where Gazzo tells the bodyguard he's a good kid, mm-hmm. and the bodyguard just says he's a meatbag, but instead he shouts it out the window to Rocky.
Well, he's got to get that last dig in there. Obviously, as we discussed in the last minute or 2 minutes ago, that there's some kind of, these two don't like each other. No. And it could be a jealousy, the bodyguard who drives Gazzo around should probably be the closest person to him. And it clearly, I think Gazzo likes Rocky more.
Yeah, this guy's probably a high-level member of Gazzo's organization.
Is it an organization?
Or his business? You want to call it a business?
It seems to be only 3 people in it.
Well, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
I don't, right. True. I shouldn't speculate.
So, Gazzo's driver is probably a higher level, and Rocky is just a street guy.
But you can also see when he yells, was he later meatbag or so long meatbag? The Gazzo in the front seat gives a little motion to kind of like this, waves his arm.
I thought he kind of wrapped him in the shoulder, slapped him a little bit.
I thought he was doing let's check it out. I thought he was doing just kind of wave just go, just drive the car, leave Rocky alone. We'll see right here. Oh no, he does. He grabs him by the shoulder and then does the arm motion. Yeah. So he rolls on the window, calls him meatbag. Gazzo, like, grabs his shoulder, like, pulls him away, then waves his arm, like, just go, just drive the car, like, leave Rocky alone.
Like, tell him enough.
Right. So, he probably doesn't, the bodyguard probably takes that to, doesn't enjoy that, takes that to heart. Like, hey, he didn't do what you told him to. Like, if the bodyguard was running the organization, punishment would have been stiffer.
Yeah, because he's an asshole.
He really is.
But Rocky yells at him, I should have broke your thumbs, as the car drives away.
And the guy who plays the bodyguard, I looked up, trying to find some information on him, Joe Sorbello. Really nothing there. He's got like 3 acting credits.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't be, criticizing Rocky. Just drive the car. With your 3 acting credits.
So after Rocky yells that he should have broke his thumbs.
Great comeback, by the way.
Yeah. That you took a book out of Evan's book of comebacks. I always tell him,
Evan is a guest on this episode.
I always tell him we need to work on his trash talk.
But Rocky gets mad though when he does the should have broke your thumbs, and this shows the, one of the things about Rocky we've seen is the ups and downs of Rocky. Like he goes from being like angry to sulking to. I have a good image on the screen of Rocky.
Where you pause a minute. It's
But yeah, so Rocky got mad and threw back. He gets fired up for a second.
But he comes down real quick.
And that's the thing about Rocky. When Gazzo's yelling at him, he's just kind of sitting there like whatever. And then he gets mad, and you see a little bit of fire in him, and maybe that's the future we see of Rocky, where the problem with Rocky is he can't get fired up at the right times. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of heart, but
you have to have a good mixture of heart and
same thing in the fight with Spider Rico. He's just kind of hugging him, lollygagging around, whatever. And then when Spider Rico does the headbutt, Rocky gets mad and turns into a different person.
Yeah.
And that's something
we'll see if he learns to harness that.
I hope he does, man. I hope he does.
So Rocky turns and starts walking away. We hear the beginning of sad piano reprise of the theme song. In the commentary, Stallone says it, the way Conti wrote that, it's kind of bringing Rocky back from the anger of I should have broke your thumbs back to him being alone, his isolation, walking down the street.
Don't him walk down the street yet. That's not in this minute.
Oh, spoiler alerts! Rocky walks down the street.
If you want to know how he walks down the street and tune back in, I guess, or you'll never know.
All right. I mean, that's the end of the minute, and that's all I have.
That's it. That's not a lot going on in this minute. Just we really, really, really start to see a relationship between Rocky and Gazzo, start to understand. The whole beginning of this movie, so far, we're kind of just seeing how Rocky interacts with the people in his life. We saw a little bit of Adrian at the pet stop, if it wasn't for that C blocker in there, Gloria. We see a little bit of him with Gazzo, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple minutes, we're going to see the beginning of his relationship with Mickey. So I like how the beginning of the movie, they're just kind of like giving you a little taste of his relationship with the important people in his life, and it's going to start to develop this character a little bit more. Good character development in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But it's interesting how you can cram so much into just a 2-hour movie. This isn't as much a movie about fighting as it is about Rocky's character.
Where'd you get that from?
Right off the top of the old head.
All right. Save it. Don't use all up. We're done with this minute.
All right. Well, join us tomorrow on the next Rocky Minute.